3 live hamsters, 1 gravity-defying Lego coaster, a single golden trophy. To survive a winding course with zero mechanical propulsion, a racer has to rely entirely on momentum and speed. This radar chart maps the specific biological stats of our competitors. Racer 1 relies on raw acceleration. A low body weight allows him to hit his top speed almost instantly, right out of the starting block. Racer 2 has a wider stance and a slightly heavier build, granting her a distinct advantage in maintaining grip and balance through tight corners. Racer 3 carries the highest overall mass. While slower off the line, that extra weight generates massive downward momentum on steep vertical drops. The outcome of this event comes down to how these specific physical traits interact with thousands of rigid plastic bricks. The venue is a sprawling, custom-built Lego fairground, complete with towering neon-lit architecture and a complex multi-lane track winding right through the center. Constructing the initial 60-degree plunge required heavy reinforcement. The track pieces had to be interlocked with underlying crossbeams to handle the sheer force of 3 vehicles hitting the incline simultaneously. This cross-section shows the physics of our gravity-fed system. To ensure safety, a weighted sensor ball was dropped through the corkscrews, mapping the exact friction lines and gravity vectors the hamsters will experience. The racers ride in custom-fit safety pods. These spherical chassis secure the hamsters comfortably while using low-friction ceramic bearings to glide along the plastic rails without losing speed. The athletes are locked into their pods. The starting gates are primed. Every structural support and track joint is about to be tested against the raw forces of gravity and the sudden, erratic movements of live animals. The gates snap open. Gravity takes over instantly. Hitting the bottom of the first 50-inch drop subjects the pods to intense compressive forces before slamming them directly into a sharp banked right turn. The track plunges into an enclosed sequence of neon tunnels. The flashing lights and tight geometry strip away visual references, forcing the racers to rely entirely on spatial awareness. While they navigate the dark, take a second to subscribe to the Cute Tiny Hamster channel for more miniature athletic events. The leader emerging from the tunnel is decided entirely by how well their pod absorbed and redirected the kinetic energy of that initial massive drop. As the pods burst back into the light, the single track splinters into a complex multi-lane split, constantly shuffling the racers' positions. Looming right ahead is the track's toughest engineering test, a complete vertical loop. This diagram shows the loop's entry point. To clear the apex, a pod must maintain a minimum speed threshold at the base. Here at the apex, outward centripetal force must exceed the downward pull of gravity, keeping them locked to the rails. All 3 pods hit the required velocity, smoothly tracing the inverted curve and shooting out onto the final straightaway. With the hardest mechanical obstacle cleared, the complex engineering fades into the background. The final stretch is a pure contest of terminal velocity. Hundreds of plastic Lego minifigures line the barriers as the 3 hamsters barrel down the final straight, running exactly neck and neck. The pods hit the final downward slope, accelerating straight toward the pressurized finish line sensors. They hit the ribbon at the exact same fraction of a second. At this scale and speed, the human eye cannot distinguish the winner. We have to pull the raw sensor data to separate them. This split-screen graphic clearly isolates the final microsecond from 3 separate angles. Advancing frame by frame, we can see Racer 2's heavier build allowed her pod to compress the track slightly more on the final descent, pushing her nose exactly 1 millimeter ahead of the others. Racer 2 takes the victory. The competitors are immediately transferred from their pods to the winner's podium. A solid golden Lego trophy is awarded, followed by a massive, specialized gourmet seed banquet for all 3 athletes. Precise brick-by-brick engineering laid the groundwork. Centripetal force kept them safe, but the distinct mass and momentum of the hamsters decided the race. To see more of these athletes in action, click the link on screen and subscribe to Cute Tiny Hamster. A static plastic track can only do so much on its own. The real action happens the moment you introduce the unpredictable nature of biology.